हरे कृष्ण। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा कुंज, जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजना, यशोदानंदना व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी, यमुना तीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी, गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना, यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरावनचारी, यमुना तीरावनचारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govinda Radhe, Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Subhadra Mai Jaya Sudarshana, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jum Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON founder Acharya, BBD founder Acharya, save the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jum Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहिए श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious to Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतः सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. कृष्णस्वधामोपगते धर्मज्ञानादिभिः सह कलौ नष्टं दिशामेषां पुराणार्कोदुनोदितः. 70th. So we'll be doing two verses, 70 and 71, because 70 doesn't have a purport. So I'll just go through the 70th and the Sanskrit and the English part, and 71st we'll all recite together. Maitre uvacha iti devarshina proktam vishrutya jagati patihi raja lakshmim anadritya putram evanvachintayat. The great Maitreya continued, the king Uttanapad, after being advised by Narad Muni, practically gave up all duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son Dhruva. Next verse, 71st. Yeah. So all of you can recite after me. Tatra bishtikta prayatas tamuposhya vibhavarim samahitah paryacharan rishi adeshena purusham tatra abhishiktah prayatas tamuposhya vibhavarim samahitah paryacharan rishyadeshena purusham tatra abhishikta prayatas tamuposhya vibhavarim samahitah paryacharan rishyadeshena purusham. Tatra abhishikta prayatas Usha vibhavarim samahita paryacharat Eshadeshena purusham. Tatra abhishikta prayata Tamuposhya vibhavarim samahita paryacharat rishyadeshena purusham. Anyone else? Tatra bishikta prayatas tamuposhya vibhavarim samahita paryacharat rishyadeshena purusham. Okay, word to word translation. Tatra, thereupon, abhishiktaha, after taking a bath, prayataha, with great attention, tam, that, uposhya, fasting, vibhavarim, night, samahitaha, perfect attention, paryacharat, worshipped, rishi, by the great sage Narada, adeshena, as advised, purusham, the supreme personality of Godhead. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Elsewhere, Dhruva Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuvan, took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The significance of this particular verse is that Dhruva Maharaj acted exactly according to the advice of his spiritual master, the great sage Narada. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also advises that if we want to be successful in our attempt to go back to Godhead, we must very seriously act according to the instruction of the spiritual master. That is the way of perfection. There need be no anxiety over attaining perfection Because if one follows the instruction given by the spiritual master, he is sure to attain perfection. Our only concern should be how to execute the order of the spiritual master. A spiritual master is expert in giving special instruction to each of his disciples. And if the disciple executes the order of the spiritual master, that is the way of perfection. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vasalam pangum langayate girim yadkripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we welcome all of the devotees. Today's Bhagavatam class from Canto 4, 8th chapter, verses 70 through 71. And it is especially humbling to be speaking in front of exalted Vaishnavas. And so I seek all of your blessings, because only by the blessings of Vaishnavas can there be empowerment to speak on the exalted subject matters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is not an ordinary scripture, rather it is a cream of all the Vedic literature, and can only be spoken as confirmed by the sages of Naimisharanya to Suta Goswami if one receives the blessings of the spiritual master. So I'm just remembering a verse from the prayers of Prahlad, where Prahlad was pushed forward by various demigods to offer prayers to Lord Narasimha, right? Because none of the prayers of the demigods actually worked to pacify the anger of Lord Narasimha. Then Prahlad takes a very humble stance in the beginning, saying that who am I, coming from a caste of very low born, right, because of the demoniac race. I am not fit to offer prayers to Lord Narasimha. So how can I, when the demigods have failed? Who am I? But later on, just 2-3 verses, later, he says that, but I should give up this pseudo humility. Tasmadaham vigata viklava ishwarasya sarvatmana mahigrinam yatha manisham nicho jaya anupravishta guna visargam puyetayena hi puman anuparnitena. He says that I should give up my pseudo humility of not rendering prayers to Lord Narasimha, because being from a nicho jaya or low born, low caste, and also because of being covered by ignorance, I've been forced to take birth in the material world. The only means of purification is to glorify the Supreme Lord. Right? So let this be my only motive to speak today in front of all of you exalted souls, because through that, my heart is being purified by every word. So with that, we'll jump to today's verse. So in the 70th verse, it is being discussed how, like all of you are following, attending daily Bhagavatam class, we are discussing Dhruva Charitra. And now, after Narad Muni gives instructions to Dhruva, he comes and pays a visit to his father, who is King Uttanapad. And he, speaks a little, and yesterday we heard of, what all was spoken to Uttanapad. And in 70th verse today, it is said that how Uttanapad after Narad Muni left, became absorbed in the thoughts of his son, Dhruva, right? And it also says that even though he had the whole kingdom of the entire world practically, which was, akin to the opulence of Mother Lakshmi, still he could not put his thought on that, and rather he focused on his son Dhruva. And in the 71st verse, it is being discussed how Dhruva Maharaj, meanwhile, when Narad Muni is going to visit Uttanapad, Dhruva is going to which forest? Madhuvan, right? And there he's practicing austerity, right? And the austerity, the details of which we'll discuss in the further verses. So he is getting up early in the morning, taking cold baths in the divine waters of Yamuna, and performing austerity as advised by Narad Muni. And Prabhupada in the purport highlights that this verse, or the significance of this verse, lies in those two words, Rishi Adeshena. Rishi is Narad Muni, Adeshena is instruction of Narad Muni to Dhruva. And just following as it is the instruction of Narad Muni, Dhruva is executing the instruction by performing austerity, right? So the important aspect of this verse is how we can achieve perfection simply by following the orders and instructions of the spiritual master, right? So we know that Dhruva had a very big material desire, probably bigger than all of ours combined. And what was that? To attain a kingdom bigger than that of his great-grandfather, Brahma, because his father is Uttanapad, and his father is Uttanapad, grandfather is Swayambhuva Manu, and his great-grandfather is Brahma. So Brahma is the engineer of the universe. So he wanted a kingdom bigger than the universe, or bigger than, or more opulent than Satyaloka, right? And that's such a big material desire. If you take Dhritarashtra on the other hand, he had a material desire not so big as compared to Dhruva. What was his material desire? What kind of a kingdom did he want? Just Hastinapur. It's such a small kingdom compared to what Dhruva wanted. But who attained perfection? Who got a kingdom at the end of the ordeal, all their struggle? Dhruva got. But did he get only the kingdom? What else he got bigger than the kingdom? Yes, he got Krishna himself, right? Sthane bilashi tapasi stitoham tam praptavan deva munindra guhyam kachan vichinvan api devyaratnam swamin kritartosmi varam nayachet. Dhruva got something so big, bigger than the kingdom of what he was aspiring, kingdom of Brahma, right? That's Dhruva Loka. But still he says, after attaining this, I don't even want that kingdom. And that is Krishna, right? So he got not only the kingdom, but he even got Krishna, initially which started off as a struggle for attaining his material desire. So what actually bestowed this kind of perfection on the little boy Dhruva, whose material desire is incomparable, unimaginable and inconceivable? So what is that secret? But Dhritarashtra, we see, he had a small material desire. At the end, he could not get anything but a severe chastisement from Vidura, and he was forced out of his house or palace, right? So Prabhupada explains that this secret of success in Dhruva's life is because of following the instruction of pure devotee like Narad Muni. Dhritarashtra, did he follow anyone's instruction? There was so much good counsel by Vidura, but he never cared to heed to them, right? Rather, he followed the dictation of Duryodhan and acted according to the whims of his demoniac sons, right? And therefore, he could not get any perfection, even though his material desire was so small compared to that of Dhruva, right? So this teaches us what, Prabhupada repeatedly, throughout his Bhaktivedanta purports and books, is told the secret of success in spiritual life is satisfaction of the spiritual master. If you just put these words, secret of success in spiritual life, on folios or Veda base and try to put a search, 99.9%, search results are nothing but secret of success lies in satisfying the spiritual master, right? So if we want to actually attain perfection, rather than focusing so much on the externals of devotion, we have to focus on the internals of devotion, which is primarily Guru Padashray, taking shelter of Guru. And taking shelter of Guru means taking shelter of his instructions, right? So 64 regulative principles of bhakti to march on the progressive path of Krishna consciousness is outlined in Nectar of Devotion by Srila Rupa Goswami, starting with the first principle, which is Guru Padashray. Adau Guru Padashray. That's the first, that's the foremost, that's the beginning. That's why it's called initiation, right? That's what you're going to initiate. You're being initiated on the path of devotional service. Without taking shelter of Guru, there is no hope of perfection, right? So, in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said to be one of the most favorite verses of Srila Prabhupada. It is, Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tata kurau tasyaite katita hyartaha prakashante mahatmanaha. Unto those great souls who have implicit faith, not only in the Supreme Person of Godhead, but also in the spiritual master, Guru. For such souls, in their hearts are dawned upon all the realizations and Vedic imports of the Vedic knowledge, right? So if we want to really understand Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, where is the secret? The secret lies in the satisfaction of one's spiritual master, right? So Prabhupada, in his purport and his explaining in lectures on 241, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, right? He says this clearly. He says that my success in spreading the mission of Lord Chaitanya is not because of my endeavor. It is simply because I had this one qualification. That is, I've simply followed the instruction of my spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? So when we actually have faith in Guru and execute the instructions of Guru, that is when we can expect to have some success in spiritual life. So it is said, and Prabhupada says in the purport of 241, that one should make the instruction of spiritual master his life and soul. And literally, if you meditate on what it means to make spiritual, the instruction of spiritual master the life and soul, it means you should be breathing the instruction of spiritual master. You should be always contemplating on the instruction of spiritual master. You should be meditating on how to execute. And we see that very clearly in the life of Srila Prabhupada, how in 1922 he met Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he got the instruction, and ever since was always meditating on how to propagate, how to execute, how to spread, right? So in that way, if we are actually Prabhupada Anugas, we should also follow this principle of taking the instruction of spiritual master to our heart, and we should be breathing that instruction. That should be our only contemplation. The purport, Prabhupada explains that there need be no anxiety to attain perfection. What is the only anxiety for the disciple? It should be how to execute the instruction of spiritual master, right? So why is this so? Why Guru Padashray is the foremost? So we have to understand that we are conditioned souls without any access to transcendence, to Krishna, right? So Guru is like a person who has his feet on the ground and head in the sky. What does that mean? Though he is moving about like any ordinary person in the material world, but he is always absorbed in the spiritual world, right? And such a person is actually a connect for us to Supreme Lord, right? And hence, it is said, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, Yasya aprasadad nagate kitopi. If we are not going to take shelter of that connect, of that help which we are getting, after so many lifetimes of wandering in this world, then we are simply missing the bus, right? And that's why in 9.2 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Raja Vidyam Raja Guhyam. Why is the spiritual knowledge a secret? Why is it a secret? You can just order so many books. We have so many books in the go down. Anyone comes, they just have to pay a couple of dollars and they get a book. It's an open secret, right? Why is it secret when you can just read the verse and read the purport? Why is it a secret? It's a secret because the realization of that Vedic knowledge comes only when you are blessed by the spiritual master after having pleased him, right? So it should be our prerogative in spiritual life that are we pleasing the spiritual master? Am I acting according in such a way that my spiritual master is pleased, right? Like recently, I just met a person down in the dinner hall, and there he was telling me that he is reading Bhagavad Gita for some time, and he just got Bhagavad Gita as it is, and he reads, but he skips the Bhaktivedanta purports. I said, why? That is the most important part of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhaktivedanta purports. He said because he doesn't want to allow himself to be biased by someone else's thoughts. And I told him, you're already biased by your conditioned mind, right? So through our journey through millions of lifetimes in this world, you're already so biased to think that I'm the enjoyer, controller, and proprietor, right? And with that kind of a conditioning, do you think you will be able to understand Krishna? No. You need purification of heart, right? And I told him that unless until you actually read the purports, you're not going to make any progress, right? So it is not by academic qualification that we can understand spiritual knowledge. And Prabhupada, openly says that there was one, Mayavadi academic scholar who gave a twisted meaning to one of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, surrender unto me, and he says, surrender unto the unborn eternal, the impersonal within Krishna. And Prabhupada adds there that this is because he's trying to understand Bhagavad Gita by his mundane scholarship. But Bhagavad Gita knowledge and that of Bhagavatam cannot be understood by mundane knowledge. It has to be understood by kripa or mercy. So, even Prahlad says, in his prayer to Narsimha Dev, that Manye dhanabhijana rupa tapashrutojas teja prabhava bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanaya bhavanti parasya pumsam bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayutapaya. You cannot attain Krishna from, with help of dhana or wealth, abhijana, rupa. Abhijana means, your followers, right? Jana, abhijana, dhana, abhijana, rupa, by your beauty, tejaha, ojaha, shrutaha, your learnedness, right? Your prabhava, how much influence, how much contact you have in this world. Nothing can earn you Krishna. But simply submissiveness, learning to depend on Guru, that can give you Krishna. Even though you don't have any material qualification, academic qualification. So Prabhupada gives this example of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was academically not very literate. Right? In order to sign, he had to put his thumbprint. He's not a very literate person in that sense. But Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he took initiation, he begged for initiation from Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur got the title Saraswati because of his academic scholarship. He was erudite scholar, right? But why did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati actually take initiation from a person who is from the mundane sense an illiterate? Because he understood this point that spiritual knowledge doesn't depend on your academic scholarship. And we see that South Indian Brahmana, when Lord Chaitanya goes to on a tour in South India, he meets this South Indian Vipra or South Indian Brahmana in Srirangam. And he sees that this Brahmana is shedding tears reading Bhagavad Gita. How many of us have had the experience of shedding tears reading Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavatam, we may understand there are some, very touching, scenes or, scenarios in Bhagavatam where a devotee is offering heartfelt prayers to Krishna. But how many of us really feel that, sense of devotion and emotion when we read Bhagavad Gita? Right? But this Brahmana in Srirangam, he was shedding tears, incessant tears, reading Bhagavad Gita. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went closer, he was holding the book upside down. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also saw that there were a couple of Brahmanas, Chaturvedis or Trivedis, who were laughing at this Brahmana, seeing that how, despite being an illiterate, he is trying to read. He was not a scholar like all of them, and they were ridiculing and looking down upon him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately understood the heart of this Brahmana and came and embraced this Brahmana. He asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Vipra kahe murkhami shabdartha na jani shuddha shuddha gita padi guru agya mani." He said, "My dear Lord, I am a murkha. I don't understand shabda artha na jani. I don't understand the meaning of all these verses of Bhagavad Gita. Right? I'm reading them sometimes correctly, sometimes incorrectly, because of which all of these people are laughing at me." But my spiritual master has given me an instruction to read the Bhagavad Gita, and hence I am reading the Bhagavad Gita. Even though he did not know how to read the Bhagavad Gita, his anxiety was, I should read the Bhagavad Gita. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, then why are you crying? Read the Bhagavad Gita, but why should you cry? Then the Brahmana revealed his heart. He said that even though I am not able to understand everything of the Bhagavad Gita, when I see that Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, he takes a simple stance of becoming a chariot driver for his devotee Arjuna on the battlefield. And you know what that means. If Arjuna has to signal Krishna, he'll not say, my dear Bhagavan, please go to the right. My dear Bhagavan, please go to the left. Right? Oh Param Brahma, Param Satyam, please move to the left. He's not going to say like that. He's going to kick, very hard on that side of the shoulder where he needs Krishna to move. Right? So what kind of a humble stance is the Supreme Lord taking, being subordinate to the love of his devotees? Understanding this, the heart of the Supreme Lord, that Brahmana started crying. Right? And then when he revealed, he got the embrace of Lord Chaitanya. And he said, you have understood the imports of Bhagavad Gita. You have understood the imports of Vedic knowledge. So he was not academically literate, but he understood the Bhagavad Gita. Right? We sometimes put our academic or mundane scholarship tendency in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. No, it cannot be done. Unless and until you are becoming a humble servant of servant, following the dictum of Trinadapi Sunichena in our life, until then, no knowledge can be, no realization of Vedic knowledge can be arisen within our heart. You see the South Indian Brahmana, the Bhagavad Gita which he could not understand academically was actually revealed to him. The essence was revealed to him in his heart. Isn't it amazing? So the secret of success, Prabhupada has so easily given to us. So easily that we often tend to miss it. Right? So it is only possible by Guru's mercy. And in the Sri Sampradaya also there is one example of a great scholar. He was not impious, he was a very pious scholar of the Vedas. And he was reading Bhagavad Gita when he came upon this verse 1866, which is Sarva Dharman Parityajya. And then he could not understand, the full realization. He could not get the full realization of this verse. So his name was Dasharathi, and his guru was Sri Ramanujacharya. And he approached his guru and he said, I want to understand this verse, what should I do? And Ramanujacharya said, yeah, that's not a big thing. You can understand it, but provided you follow my instruction. Right? He said, yes, Gurudev, kindly instruct what you want me to do, and I'm going to follow to the best of my ability. And his Gurudev, Ramanujacharya, told him that you are a great scholar of the Vedas, but I want you to take a humble stance. Just recently, a relative of mine, she had come up to me, and she was, in a very precarious situation. She was a housewife, and she had to wash so many pots, and she was being pushed and tortured by her mother-in-law to do so many house chores. And she was very much fed up with her life. So I want you to go to her house and become a humble pot washer. And nobody should know, mind you, nobody should know that you are the great Dasharathi. And Dasharathi, being a sincere follower of his Gurudev's instruction, went and followed as it is the instruction which was given to him. Without anyone's understanding of who he really was, covering his identity, he just worked as a pot washer. Pot washing is not a very limelight service. Pot washing is not a very, it's not a service that will give you so much glory in this world. It's a very menial seva, right? How many other pots you wash, you may not get so much glory, right? So pushing aside all the tendency for glorification and this and that, Dasharathi simply focused on washing pots in that house. And many days passed by, even months, and a great Mayavadi scholar, greatness by his scholarship of Vedas only, he came to the city or village where they were staying, and he was giving a big sermon about how everything is the impersonal truth, and Krishna's personality is Maya, etc. So Dasharathi simply happened to go there because he got some free time in between. And as he heard this blasphemy of the Supreme Lord's personality, he could not tolerate, and immediately he blurted out, he challenged, gave an open challenge and defeated that Mayavadi scholar. And everyone was in great wonder, who is this guy who is defeating this Mayavadi scholar? And then it came to light that this was none other than the great Dasharati. And immediately people ran and asked Ramanuja, how come you're asking your disciple, this great erudite scholar of the Vedas, to wash pots and, be a menial, humble servant in this household? And that time, Ramanujacharya explained to them, and then Dasharati later met Ramanujacharya and he told him, I have understood what is the meaning of this verse, Sarvadharman Parityajya. Right? So simply by accepting servitude and dasatva towards Guru, one actually understands entire Vedic knowledge, which one cannot attain despite lifetimes of erudite scholarship. Right? So hence it is very important that we cultivate dependence on Guru. Often we are very dependent on one Guru is there for all of us by default. Who is that? Our mind, Man Maharaj, right? Whose lotus feet always we worship, right? But the problem is that Man Maharaj is not coming in the bona fide sampradaya, right? He is actually a bogus Guru. But we have ended up somehow worshipping this Man Maharaj time and again to the extent that even if our Guru, right, our spiritual master gives us instruction, becomes difficult to follow, right? But hence we have to understand that our mind is to be first kicked out. Just like Bali Maharaj, when Shukracharya spoke something against worship of the Supreme Lord, Vamandev, immediately gave him up, right? And he accepted the actual spiritual master, that is Krishna. We should also accept the actual spiritual master Krishna or his dire representatives coming in the parampara, who are simply like a via medium, transmitting the exact message that Krishna wants us to know, right? And in this way we have got Prabhupada as disciples who are there to guide us. So in a song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Jogyata vichare kichu nahi japai tomara karuna sara karuna na hoile kandiya prana na rakhibo ara. So he's singing, he's rather crying that, oh Gurudev, please give me a drop of your mercy, because without that I'm simply nonsense. I don't have anything, I'm simply made up of your compassion. Whatever good qualities I have, it is because of your mercy. If you don't decide to show me mercy, then I have no qualification and I will not be able to maintain my life. And that's the kind of dependence we should have towards our spiritual master, right? Because in the Bhagavatam 11th canto, it is described how the Guru is the captain of our ship, right? So the verse is Nirde hamadyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam gurukarna dharam mayanukulena nabhasvate ritam puman bhavabdim nataret sa atmaha. It says how easily we have got the human form of life. How easily? Because the material nature provided. You didn't have to construct this human body. But at the same time, it is very rare, sudurlabham. And this body is compared to a boat on the Bhavabdi, which is the ocean of material life. In the ocean of material existence, what is every drop? Anyone knows? Is compared to our material desire. So imagine the ocean made up of drops of our material desires, so difficult to cross. But in this verse, Krishna himself is explaining that your human form of life is the boat or the ship. And the captain of the ship is Guru, who knows how to expertly adjust the sails, who knows exactly how to compass or navigate the entire ship and take you to perfection. Right? And Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, etc. are the favorable winds to help you to, take the easy path of bhakti. Right? In this way, Guru has such an important position as the captain of the ship of our life, right? So when we actually give that due control or due position of the Guru to him, then we can actually sail back swiftly to the spiritual perfection. So we see in Prabhupada's example itself, this, in 1922 he heard the instruction. Ever since he was meditating on it and ultimately executed it, right? It was not an easy one, but he, through every struggle, through every tribulation, through every reversal, he was actually, enthusiastically, with great faith, following the instruction of his spiritual master to the effect that he propounded the message of Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavad Gita and Lord Chaitanya all over the world, right? And he also, gives the example of how the Gaudiya Math, after the departure of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, actually broke down because they did not have faith in the words of spiritual master, so they could not cooperate, and everyone wanted their own, they had their own motivations, and everything broke down, right? So Prabhupada explains how by disobeying Guru, one has a spiritual fall down, right? And we know the example of Ramchandra Puri from Chaitanya Charitamrita. At the time of departure of, or the last days of Srila Madhavendra Puri, Ramchandra Puri was actually not helping his spiritual master. When his spiritual master, being absorbed in transcendence, was crying out, Krishna, O Srimati Radharani, he was saying, why do you have to undergo so much anxiety? Just meditate on Brahman and be peaceful. And this agitated and irritated Madhavendra Puri to such an extent that he chastised and threw him out. On the other hand, Srila Ishwara Puri, he served his spiritual master till the very end. He would clean after his spiritual master. He would, according to the mood of the spiritual master, he would narrate pastimes from the scriptures. And like that, he pleased the heart of Srila Madhavendra Puri. And in this way, he gained so much blessings and, great, even the Lord, Supreme Lord Chaitanya, he appeared as, appeared in this parampara as a disciple of Srila Ishwara Puri. That is his glory. Simply by satisfying the spiritual master, one gets all the blessings and empowerment. Hence, what we are supposed to do, the call for action for all of us is that we should learn to be disciples of our spiritual master. But you may say, I'm already a disciple of my spiritual master. I'm initiated. I'm a das, I've got this name. No, disciple at heart. Disciple means discipline. How are we disciplined to control our senses in a way that can help us to focus on the mission of the spiritual master? Right? How are we shouldering the burden of spiritual master or burdening the shoulder of the spiritual master? Right? We should always be thinking, how should I speak? How should I walk? How should I sit? How should I talk? In such a way that Guru and Krishna are pleased. In that way, we can actually become disciples of spiritual master. And that's what Prabhupada is telling in the purport, that one's anxiety should not be how to attain perfection, but how to execute the order of spiritual master. And we see His Grace Jananda Prabhu, disciple of Prabhupada, once he was asked, what is your thought? Are we actually going back to Godhead? Are we attaining perfection? And he said that actually I don't have no time to think about all these things. I'm all completely preoccupied with how to execute the order of Srila Prabhupada, right? So that is the mood for perfection. It's strange that the more you think of whether I'll get perfection, to that degree you don't get perfection. To the degree you just want to please a spiritual master, perfection is guaranteed, right? And how can we, increase this sense of dedication and loyalty to our spiritual master? Attending morning program seriously. Daily, having a good sadhana, because it is a material vision which curbs our relationship with Guru. Guru has given us so many names, ending with Das. Sometimes we may boast about how beautiful the name is, trying to identify it with the former part of the name. But that is not who you are, that's who Krishna is. Yes, it's definitely beautiful, but it is also important that we identify with the last word of the name, which is actually our position. Guru has said, Abhay Govind Das, means I'm Das, right? So Das means servant of servant. The mood is that of a menial servant. And in that mood, that means I'm not the enjoyer. Often this mentality of enjoyer is what makes us, what makes it difficult to follow the instruction of spiritual master. But to the degree we establish this sambandha with spiritual master and Krishna, that I'm only a servant, to that degree you can actually follow the process. Sambandha, abhideya, and then perfection is guaranteed, prayojan. So it's all about what kind of, how much we are establishing a relationship with our spiritual master and Krishna, right? So even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the foremost quality of a Vaishnava, with respect to what he should follow and not, is asatyera, asanga tyag, right? To asat sangat tyag. Asat sangat tyag, a Vaishnavachar, right? So we have so many anukul and pratikul. The foremost of pratikul is giving up material association. It is a material association which actually disturbs our absorption as servant of servant in spiritual life. It is because material association that our inner tendencies, which are in the process of getting curbed, of enjoyship, proprietorship, controllership, they get reignited. They can even get reignited to a full blazing fire sometimes, right? And completely forgetting our relationship with Guru and taking him to be an ordinary man, which is a very great offense and will lead to spiritual fall down, right? So when we actually give up wrong association and have the good association, who are spiritually minded people, who have spiritual vision, and having good interactions with Vaishnavas, and following a good sadhana practice on a regular basis for purification of heart, that is how we can actually please our spiritual master and attain perfection. Right? So these are some of the thoughts on today's topic. So if any comments, feedback, everyone is welcome. If Varshita Prabhu wants to add something.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for exceptional class. Generally in ISKCON, we wait until the person is second initiated before we allow them to give Bhagavatam class. So I was chatting with Hansarupa before the class, and he said, no, here we give them a chance after first initiation. So I'm really glad that he did that. Exceptional class. On that last point, that verse, Asat Sangatyag, E Vaishnava Prachar, Sri Sangi Eka Sadhu, Krishna Bhaktar. So one may then argue if associating with the asat personalities will contaminate us, then why do we go out? Why don't we just stay here and perform bhajan all day and eat nice prasadam and read Bhagavad Gita? And why do we go out in the public? Take the chance of associating with these asat types.
So our only motive to go out in the material world is to give out Krishna. So if we want to give out Krishna, we have to be prepared with all the weapons to fight the Maya that comes along. Like Prabhupada says beautifully, that fish, but don't get wet. So we have to remain very much protected, and that protection can be offered only when we are taking shelter of Guru's instructions through execution of morning program and sadhana and whatever other instruction that we get. And of course, we may have to work in the material world, nevertheless. We're not fanatics in that way. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, I'm waiting for that time when Lord Chaitanya's message is so, prevalent in this world that even a lawyer and a doctor and so many others are wearing tilak and performing their work. So, but at the same time, we should be in this world, but not of this world. And that comes by following Guru's instruction very strictly. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. This last point you mentioned with Jayananda Prabhu, that we focus on pleasing our spiritual master. We don't need to be caught up with the perfection, prayojana. When I was reading Prabhupada's books in the Bhagavatam, he mentioned there's a type of prayer called, I'm going to mess it up, but it's Abhilash something, and I think it's longing for perfection. And in some of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs and Narottam's songs, there's sections of his literature that's longing for perfection in a specific service. Now, well, we won't focus on these because we're, not qualified for that. It seems that there's a part of our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy that's focused on longing for perfection. So how can we incorporate that into the spiritual master and pleasing the spiritual master?
Thank you, Prabhu, for the question. So even Prabhupada said, the goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. And one must be very fixed upon going back home, back to Godhead. So what does it mean? And in this purport, he's saying one should not think about the perfection. One should be focused on pleasing the spiritual master. So it means that the way or the perfection of attaining Godhead is guaranteed when you learn to please your spiritual master. When we please Prabhupada, when we please a spiritual master, then the perfection is guaranteed. But we are pleasing also, we are serious in our spiritual life because we want to please them, because we are fixed on the goal, because we are very resolute on the purpose of going back home, back to Godhead. But if you are going to allow doubts, whether will I attain perfection, how should I make separate endeavors to attain perfection, Prabhupada is saying there is no need for any separate endeavor other than simply please your spiritual master. He has come as a representative of Krishna. He has come to you. Brahmanda Brahmide Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. He has come to you. So just accept him, worship him, please him, serve him. By that, perfection is guaranteed. But we are serious on the spiritual path because we are fixed on the goal. But you don't have to keep thinking about whether I'll attain or not to attain it. You have to just focus on satisfying the spiritual master. Okay, so in satisfying the spiritual master, your fixity on the ultimate goal is already included. Your perfection is already guaranteed. Is that understood? Maybe if Archita Prabhu wants to add something. Yeah.
If I'm understanding it correctly, you're saying that we shouldn't be thinking if or if not I'm going to achieve it, but focus on the spiritual master. And at a certain level, the spiritual master might encourage us to read the literatures of other places, but not be thinking if or if not.
Exactly.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samavet Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Don't put the name.